Welcome everyone to the next edition of Neo Reality Collective. We're in the 31st edition, and so we got cover some news today in the pop culture world of gaming, wrestling, and all that nonsense, and along with COVID-19 talk. But let's get into it. WWE is this shocked me. Okay, so John Alba on Twitter says sources at hashtag NXT protocols for fans to attend the shows at CWC are set up through WWE. They designate a testing spot for attendee to go to, cover any involved costs. Results aren't sent to the person, but they get a notification if they're cleared or not. Temper check at door. COVID testing for attending WWE NXT happens the day before. Every individual who attends them is then taken to their pod where they are stationed with those in their party. Sanitation is also available in the pod. Paul Levesque has mentioned this on the last call. Since posting, I've had some reach out who have said they are able to check their results in addition to WWE giving clearance. I guess some others were not aware they could check them. Evans Labs does the test, which is the same provider WWE uses for its own crew. So, yeah, it seems that that NXT, WWE, they were like, okay, after the last three big outbreaks we've had, it's time to finally, we gotta make this we gotta take this seriously. And now all those who are getting tested, who are fans, are being covered costs. So what do you have to say for those who you're using their footage for? Do they get paid? I had to try. But yeah, I'm glad they're doing this. It's like I said again. At the same time, I'm still annoyed that it took this long for them to start doing the right thing here. I get Vince is a certain friend's best friend, but a certain president's best friend. But come on, even they have to admit. Even Vince has to admit this was wrong. But he won't. He'll never admit he's wrong. He will die on the sword. So, during AEW last night, which featured the greatest musical performance ever by Chris Jericho and MJF, there was a scary incident that occurred during the main event. Alex Lano's laid unconscious in the ring following a spot by Private Party where they hit where Reynolds' body went stiff after the spot, and he lay there after the pinfall was broken up. He was then dragged by the corner by the Blade, who tagged himself in. Reynolds continued to lay motionless in the corner as the action continued around him before he was finally able to make it to his feet. So, yeah, this happened after the disaster. So there was an incident where Private Party did a landing and and then one of the members' thigh hit his head. He was out for a little bit, and uh, yeah, it was a scary situation. We were worried. Everyone was worried and wondering why the hell the referee is this bad. But there were people that came out to check on him, and we did see footage that came out that he did leave under his own power. And Mike Johnson, a PW Insider, reported that he was okay by the time the match was over and didn't seem to have any issues backstage. So there's certainly no updates regarding else on that. But like I said, it is good that he's all right. Like, yeah, once again, more criticism I'll give to AEW on that because at least it's not as the disastrous Matt Hardy incident where they were stopping the match and then they restarted the match, and yeah, yeah, that was a horrendous disaster, and thank God nothing serious came out of it. Um, so remember how the steak dinner that Chris Jericho had with MJF? So apparently, this is where Jericho came out to address the live crowd and shared some mind details about the segment. If you only knew what went through to get that up on air. Basically, we had to get ready to go about 22 minutes before it aired, and we filmed last night until about 2 a.m. You never know what's going to happen on live TV, but you buckle up, get the job done, put on a great show, and make sure you guys have fun. So he also called it the greatest moment in wrestling history. Okay, I wouldn't say that far, or but I was saying I did say that now I wish that Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho could do a song and dance number in the Festival of Friendship. So props to that. But It was just so hilarious. It was like, and I wrote on Twitter, and this got very divisive with fans. Some calling it the death of wrestling, and how it was going to kill the industry, and how it was the worst thing to ever happen to professional wrestling in the history of our sport. And because we have nothing better to do with our lives, and we have to complain about something that's good and joyful and pure. I'm like, and people were using the classic tactic of, oh, well, if WWE did it, then you would definitely hate it. Well, no, I wouldn't hate it. In fact, I actually would have been interested in that. Here's the thing I said. Let's see. This is what I said when I first saw the segment. Okay, this is classic Golden Age era wrestling fun. Brought to you by the two biggest heels in AEW. Got to hand it. Pretty fun and quality song, good song. Now I'm wishing the Festival of Friendship had a song and dance number. MGF and Jericho get all the points. And yeah, and fans were trying to twist this and say it's the worst thing to happen because how dare it brings joy. And this is what I wrote. Except there are a few people I think the reason why I say WWE would okay, I'm saying the whole if WWE did it, it would have been destroyed. But I was thinking to myself, yeah, I get to some minor extent, but at the same time, it's like Chris Jericho and MJF. It felt organic. It felt like it was like, okay, let's just do this random shit. And whereas in WWE would have been forced and this is what I also said. Except there are a few people I think in WWE would be able to make a segment like this. Imagine Funhouse, Bray Wyatt, and Alexa doing this with high quality puppetry. I think it could work. It could work. I think and be very dark because it's Bray Wyatt. And one person responded to me. Shout out to fellow Elite member AJ. Like that Dracula puppet show at the end of the Forgetting Sarah Marshall. That would totally rock. So yeah, like I loved the segment. It's just so hilarious. I've watched it like what 10 times, and I watched the unedited cut after what 3 times already today. It was just so entertaining, and it's like, oh god, you're so hilarious, everyone. This was awesome. This is what wrestling is about for me. It's not just the insanity. It's also like we're a professional wrestling company. We got a bunch of cultists calling themselves the Dark Order. We got a guy who controls fire. We got a dead man walking in this business. We got a chicken coming out of an egg back then. We got a guy who goes ahead and uses and talks to a sock. We got birth to a hand, but we don't like talking about that angle. We got a senile dictator who goes ahead and doesn't understand the concept of reality anymore. Let's just embrace it. We're all mad here. Everyone's mad. The only place that's madder than us is Wonderland. And now the Tim Burton one. So, yeah, it's just hilarious and fun. So, WWE reportedly, during a recent interview with Sports Illustrated, wait, so yesterday, Sports Illustrated was being interviewed Elias, and he told that he thinks Jeff Hardy could be a stepping stone to the main event scene. No, I don't think so. Anyways, but seemingly the Drifter seemingly isn't the only one who thinks that. Inside the Road recently reported that WWE sees Elias as one of the top stars of Monday Night Raw, and the company views him as a major star on the cusp of entering the main event picture. Well, he was on the main event. He was on the horizon, but then you had to get beat down by Corbin. Then you had him turn heel again after everyone loved him and thought he was like, a musical concert version of The Rock who would just lay into his opponents and through song, whereas The Rock would use his electric personality. And then before that, yeah, he was the biggest hated heel in the state, in Seattle. So in Washington, in Seattle, Washington, we all know how that one was. They were ready to kill him for 10 minutes. But yeah. So they said that Inside the Rope also noted that WWE's resident performer was moved to the writer brand because the company trusts him to be an entertaining aspect no matter how long a segment is. With the extra hour, this will allow Elias to be part of longer segments like the Raw concert he hosted on this week's Raw. So, what they've essentially said is, oh, Elias, he can do whatever he wants. He's entertaining, to Vince at least. But, so if Retribution, Mustafa Ali came out, they get 10 minutes. And they're supposed to be one of the big storylines in WWE, the big status quo up war story. Yeah, that's certainly confidence. After they got beaten down by the Fiend, so I'm pretty sure they have no confidence anymore. So MLW returned to taping this past week, and and wrestling has learned that several former WWE stars worked the tapings, including Leo Rush, Sean Davari, and ACH. Now, okay, like Leo Rush, he was released as part of the cuts. Davari has used to work for a producer since January 2019, but was released back in April. And ACH, aka Jordan Miles, as he was called in WWE. Yeah, I don't really want to go into that debate because while he had understandable reasons, and the fact that revealing emails showed that the designers clearly hate him and lie about a lot of things. But I will not go into the details entirely on that because I don't feel like getting uncomfortable. But yeah, they were all at MLW's taping. So, former Intercontinental Champion Big E Langston, as he once was known as, was on this episode of After the Bell, where he discussed his new singles run on SmackDown as well as the original ideas the New Day had for themselves. Big E said on After the Bell that they always wanted to be a true faction, as seen last year, where one member could hold a singles title and the other two could be tag champs. That's the thing that I think the most is the fact that when we started the New Day, the goal was to always be a faction. I don't want to say we were forced into being a tag team, this weird 3-man tag team. I'm so grateful for it because I had an incredible time. But we always saw ourselves as kind of a revolving door faction where Kofi Kingston can have a singles run and Xavier Woods and I can do tag stuff. After that, and then we just kind of have these interchanging parts, and we could all have singles, and we never really got that until last year where Kofi had his world title run. And that's the kind of what I wish we had done a little bit more of. I think that would have allowed us to kind of show more sides. That's just the kind of thing that one thing comes to mind, and is that I just wish we got to operate more as a faction. Big E also has said in the past that New Day considered adding new members to join the group. He revealed on After the Bell that they consider Alicia Fox and David Sandow to join their group back when the New Day had a more militant persona. Yeah, remember when the New Day first debuted, it was not called the New Day. It was having Xavier Woods come out in a fancy suit and declare that they're sick and tired of being puppets and what was originally going to be the Nation of Domination 2.0. Yeah. Yeah, so they originally had considered Damien Sandow and Alicia Fox to be added to the group later down the road. And they were saying like, oh, no, it's offensive, except that's a lie. That's not true. I'm sure Big E was told the lie by Vince. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. But from what I was hearing, the reason why they dropped the New Day stuff wasn't because people thought that was racist, but that but apparently it was said that due to the Del Rio fiasco, where Del Rio slapped an employee for making a racist remark and not apologizing for it, and Del Rio getting fired, and all the controversy that came from that somehow got flack, and somehow the New Day was screwed over for it. Yeah, but it would have been actually interesting to see what it could have been had they kept their militant persona and was the Nation of Domination. Like, I enjoyed the New Day run when they finally started, stop being the lying to themselves good guys with a stereotype edge, because of course. But I would have been interested to see how they would have been had they went ahead and remained being the militant force. I'm pretty sure Damien Sandow would have been in a much better position than he was when it came to an end. So, James Storms revealed why Paul Heyman was trying to get him so hard to get him on Raw earlier this year. So they originally were going to do this big stuff with him, and when he was rumored to be, when WWE came to him and said, "Hey, can we get a contract with you?" Um, so apparently, let me see. So they were going to plan a show around WrestleMania weekend where all the good shows go on, and he was going to drop the tag titles down there and say, "Just as I say, do good business" on the way out the door. Still, and Eldrick did end up dropping the titles in his last appearance on January 26th. That was the same day as the Royal Rumble, which historically had many surprise entrants, as Jordan was asked if there were plans for him to be in one. I don't think it was to come in for the Rumble, because I never did say, "Hey, you know how it is. You never know until it's over with, really. You're in the ring, you head bed to the back, take your boots off." I kind of felt that way because, like I said, it was on Thursday and I didn't answer the email until I got back home on Wednesday. And it was Heyman that wanted to bring me to Raw. He was basically like, "Hey, I need guys like you to know how to work, because I tell everybody all the time, WWE, AEW, New Japan, they get the guys that can do every move in the book, and there ain't no move that you're going to come up with that one of those guys can't do. There's a lot of those guys who don't make it really believable even more, or in my eyes anyway." Um, so apparently he said this, and then James Storms, when asked more about his conversation with WWE, he says, "Well, I was going through SVP Talent Development Demon, and it all just kind of trickled down and stuff. They were straight up front. They were like, 'We want to bring you in to help a lot of our younger guys and stuff.' And I was like, 'Hey, if it pays the same, I don't care.' And to be able to do that anyways, especially at that level, if they trust me to go in there in the ring, because I was telling people, you could tell people what to do all day, but unless you have the talent you can work with them, it kind of gets lost in the translation." I mean, they were straightforward and they said, "Look, but you never know. Oh, you could come in here, catch fire, and then before you know it, you're out to the races doing something else." And I felt confident in myself enough of knowing that I could go in there and do the job they want me to do, but also at the same time, I could go anywhere and get myself over the WWE universe. And yeah, considering what they had happened, considering the pandemic happened and all that, it ruined all those plans. And plus, it was going to fail probably either way, because Paul Heyman was fired from directive role. And he says there's no hard feelings with Vince, even though I kind of feel like there should be, because what Vince fired you for from your role was the same excuse they fired you for SmackDown's run, for Heyman SmackDown. They basically said, "Stop doing a good job. You're annoying. It's not a good thing to be doing a good job." Except, remember, okay, so I've always said, like, if Vince hated Paul Heyman doing so good of a job on SmackDown, why not just move him to Raw? They finally moved him to Raw. It took, like, I don't know, 16 years to finally do it. But at that point, Raw wasn't important anymore. It was SmackDown that was getting the big money, and then they were like, "Okay, well, we fucked that up, so we can't have him be." And then when Paul Heyman starts doing a good job on Raw and wanting to push all these younger guys, they're like, "No, he's doing too much of a good job. Get rid of him, even though we can put him on SmackDown." So it's just this repeated formula of, it's going to be, if it's too good of a job, you suck. If you go to Raw, you must be bad at your job, apparently, which is why Bruce Picard's still around. So there was a storyline that I didn't know about that revealed that a romantic storyline featuring an interview named Charlie Carso when Angel Garza was randomly stopped. So yeah, there was plans to do them a hookup, and then when it also randomly stopped. Uh yeah, she doesn't know reason, but considering this was during a huge portion of the Heyman era, I'm led to guess that because it's Heyman, therefore it has to die. I don't know how that storyline would have gone. I wasn't watching Raw at the time or any of the shows because the virus had existed and it was too depressing. But yeah, if it's Heyman related, it was probably going to get killed by Vince. So remember when Final Fantasy VII Remake dropped on the PS4 in April 2020, and that was 7 months ago? Well, Yeah, it feels like a lifetime ago. That's when life was somewhat stable. We still had a virus crisis going on, but things were still looking optimistic. Then we had our hill Hope killed because we royally suck at this. Final Fantasy remake. In fact, every time I looked at the Final Fantasy VII remake, I kept thinking like, wait, did that come out in December or did it come out this year? Because it just seems so long ago. But it was announced that yeah, they finally released the the first PS4 patch after 7 months. According to Push Square, the update fixes game crashes, addressing freezing and frame rate drops, irons out stuttering and lag, and implements performance and stability improvements. But they haven't really said what the update version 1.01 does. Despite whatever, Final Fantasy Remake still runs into texture issues in which objects look polyangle and assets don't fully load. So yeah, yeah. In fact, I actually and like this is a three-part series. So Final Fantasy 7 1, Final Fantasy 7 2, Final Fantasy 7 3. Keep rating for 3 of 7. Anyway, so I'm actually impressed that it took that the game was apparently so good and managed to wait for a delay for 7 months. Though I'm still saying in my Final Fantasy video that I think that the game actually is a sequel to the original Final Fantasy. Like there's some slight indications and choice in dialogue, like how, especially when people brought up how Aerith goes ahead. Like in the first game, in the original, she has her eyes opened, but when in the remake, she has her eyes closed and opening up, which could be like she's receiving the visions of the past or travel back in time, and yeah, all the chaos that comes with time travel because the guy who made the Final Fantasy VII remake is also the guy that makes Kingdom Hearts, and we all know how complicated that universe is. So who knows? Probably is a sequel. So Troy Baker wants to play an infected creature. Huh. So he says this. Troy Baker doesn't expect the last of the HBO series to cast him as the main character Joel again, though Baker would like to get blown up by him. Okay. Interesting interpretation. And the reason why I'm looking at this is he went on YouTube saying this. Says this. The reason why I'm looking at this is that this feels like a possible harbinger of what the HBO show The Last of Us is going to be like, which feels like it's definitely going to be in good hands with Craig Manson. And Baker has shared who his original pick to play Joel was, but we're still worried for the official casting details. But he said this: I would love to be someone who's like, oh, and by the way, he's an infected, and I want to be blown up by Joel. That would be the best. And or just the guy who's like Quentin Jaws, and just like, oh, you think you're gonna make it out of this? Let me tell you where you're gonna go. Uh, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they did that, but like, just have the original actor come on, Troy Baker show up, and then get killed by his alternate counterpart. Yeah, that kind of would be funny. But I'm pretty sure they would make some offhanded commentary on it. So remember Qui-Gon Jinn, the guy who didn't have much, who wasn't really that much developed as a character on in the first movie, then was given layers and whatnot and expanded material and more layers in the Clone Wars series. But was the Jedi that was like, hey, maybe Qui-Gon's onto something. Nah, let's ignore him. But yeah, he's been recently he was recently asked by Collider that he hasn't been asked to come back to reprise his role. Oh, he's saying this: I've done the voice of Qui-Gon Jinn in a couple of animated versions of it. I can't remember the names of them. Okay, he forgot the Clone Wars happened. Okay, I can't remember the names of them. Myself and Samuel Jackson and did our Jedi Knights for those. I think I did 2 of them, but on film I haven't been approached. No. Not only that, Neeson has added that he hasn't been keeping up to date on the goings on the galaxy. I haven't really been following them, to be honest. I don't know if they come to an end. I've heard they did a film of Harrison Ford's character, Han Solo, and that there was a bit of trouble with that. What do you think? Are Star Wars fans finished with it? Uh, oh boy. So Liam Neeson has not been given an offer to come back. I don't honestly expect him to come back because Disney wants to obliterate anything that was considered bad by Lucas created. So I'm pretty sure Ahsoka doesn't have much left to live because she's a Lucas creation, even though she's been mostly handled by Dave Filoni. But you know, let's just off-screen kill her off and not give a definitive answer on that. Yeah, I'm still pissed at that. So yeah, Qui-Gon Jinn, I don't know when we'll ever see him again. As the Force goes, heck, I would love to see a prequel movie about him, but I'm pretty sure Disney won't do it. So remember how Black Panther the movie ended with so remember in Black Panther Killmonger destroyed the plant, the herbs that gives the Black Panther powers? So turns out that Shuri in an all new book about the MCU has hit the shelves and includes some interesting facts about what Shuri's been up to in Wakanda since the end. Um So it's revealed that she is attempting in the Wakanda files. It's revealed that Shuri is studying the heart-shaped the herb seen in Black Panther that gives a superhero enhanced powers like increased speed, agility, and strength. And Wakanda's entire supply of it was destroyed by him after taking the throne. But Shuri is turning her genius brain into making a synthetic version of the herb, which means the Black Panther legacy can continue. Apparently, Shuri also thought about adding some vibranium into her synthetic creation too, though she needs to examine a sample of the real plant before she can really get it working. Since that's the strongest material in the vulnerable universe, it's also Wakanda's major natural resource. If anyone could successfully augment the verbs, it's probably Shuri, but whether or not this makes her stronger will make the person stronger enough, but yeah, 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 considering how Chadwick Boseman passed away, rest in peace, man. Yeah, I was not surprised it was going out that route. Like like at the same time there is that slim chance that they were gonna go where she could become Black Panther with T'Challa, but considering what has happened, it looks like now they have to go that route to bring it back and make her the new Black Panther. But they have to give him an honorable end. So okay, so the Batwoman TV show character, Wild Wilder, yeah, before fans meet a brand new character will be taking on the mantle of Batwoman when the CW series returns in January 2021. But before fans meet the heroine Ryan Wilder, she'll first be appearing in the comic book universe. On a preview of Batgirl 50, which is the end of the Joker, which is the end of the Batgirl run of Rebirth and the aftermath of the recent Joker crossover, where Barbara struggles to move forward from the idea and figure out what next to do, both as her costume and professional career. She bumps into an old friend from her librarian, which actually establishes that Barbara Gordon and Ryan Wilder already have a history together. So, yeah, yeah. So they're establishing that there's this character that's coming in, and we don't know, and she's just an old friend, so to speak, and they know each other. But okay, just quickly establish her in the universe and just say, "Oh, Barbara knows her." Gotcha. So, the Addams Family. Tim Burton is producing a live-action TV series reboot, and the creators of Smallville are reportedly writing it. Dun-dun-dun-dun. 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 Dun-dun-dun. The Addams Family. So, okay. So the Addams Family is reportedly coming back to a TV in a new live-action series produced and possibly directed by Tim Burton. And Deadline reports that Burton is currently in talks to executive produce the new show and is considering directing all the episodes. The creators of Smallville would be the showrunners and writers of the series. The show takes place in present day from the point of view of Wednesday Addams. According to the Deadline sources, Netflix is reportedly the likely buyer of the series, although multiple companies have reportedly are in consideration of it. This would be his first This would be Burton's first television project since he was the executive producer of Family Dog in 1993. Although Burton also directed the web series titled World of Steamboy that was released in 2000. And Burton's last project was the remake of Dumbo, because why would you have Tim Burton of all people do it? I am curious. I think he could actually be the one. I think Tim Burton, considering how his stories go for more or stylistically dark vibe to it, I think it could actually fit. I think it's a match made in heaven. If he somehow screwed that up, I would be freaking amazed. But yeah, the creators of Smallville, like everyone loves Smallville, the Superman show. I'm interested in it. But we'll have to see where this goes. We'll have to see where this goes. Blade Runner gets a prequel comic from Titan. Mike Johnson, Kay Perkins, and Mello Brown are teaming up for Titan's Comics Blade Runner Origins, a prequel to the fan favorite sci-fi movie. Oh boy. It was announced that Titan Comics and the media group have announced Blade Runner Origins, a prequel story taking place 10 years before the events of the original Blade Runner film in the current Titan series, explaining what leads to the formation of the Blade Runner division. We're thrilled to be joining the creative team behind the Blade Runner comics to bring fans the story behind the first Blade Runner unit. As fans ourselves, we look forward to expanding this universe, telling stories from new perspectives, and shedding lights on the corners of LA only hinted at in previous chapters. So, yeah, this is the synopsis below. A senior bioengineer for the Tyler Corp is found hanging in her sealed laboratory, the victim of an apparent suicide. LAPD Detective Carl Mornek, a war-scarred veteran, the bloody off-world convict known as whatever, as depicted in the Blackout 2022 Blade Runner anime, is sent in to write it up quickly, quietly, and with the minimum of fuss. But something doesn't sit right with the detective, and it soon becomes apparent that this is anything but a normal suicide. Did the scientist's groundbreaking research in the Nexus model replicant somehow contribute to her death? Is this apparent disappearance of a prototype Nexus unit also connected to the case? Detective, whatever her name is, pronunciation, Monex, investigation will draw him into a dark conspiracy behind the replicant empire. Replicant! So, yeah, I do have the Blade Runner movies. I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but I haven't read any of the comics, so I'm probably not the best guy for that. But I do love the look of Blade Runner, and Harrison Ford's pretty awesome. So, John Boyega teases Finn's abandoned Episode 9 story arc. So, speaking of Yahoo Entertainment, Boyega discussed how Trevino's Episode 9 would have seen Finn leading a stormtrooper revolution on the planet Coruscant. I think Colin Trevorrow was going to tell that story. The image of Finn with the blue flag, and you have the AT&Ts lined up with travel marks, and the stormtroopers take off their helmets. That would have been sick. That would have been dope, man. Hands down. As part of the concept art that got leaked. Yeah. Like, Duel of Fates had been reportedly different from the Rise of Skywalker. Like, Kylo Ren was the main villain. Kylo Ren was the one who killed Rey's parents, who were nobodies, much like he told her in The Last Jedi. Palpatine only appeared in a hologram. Rose Teco led a heist on a Star Destroyer, and Force Ghost Luke, Obi-Wan, and Yoda aided Rey in her battle with Kylo Ren, who was eventually extinguished without any sort of redemption arc. So basically, this is the whole. It wouldn't be perfect, but it would be 100% better than the pill shit that we developed for Episode 9. So, yeah, it's sad. I honestly, I hope that Colin gets to. I hope that with the stuff like the whole alleged Abrams cut, the JJ cut of Star Wars Episode 9 is ever seen the light of day if it's real. And I do hope that Colin will be given the opportunity to create the movie he wanted if the Snyder Cut's a proven success. So I would have honestly, would have been interested in seeing what that could have been like. The Stormtrooper aspect was clearly something they were building on, but no, it's just a pass away comment that devalues Finn's entire character arc. So, Shazam 2 will maintain the franchise's comedy, feature Marvel family fight scenes. Despite some frightening moments, 2019 Shazam maintained a largely light-hearted comedic style while also showing the importance of family. With the upcoming Shazam, Fury of the Gods on the way, Adam Brody, who plays the superhero former Freddie Freeman, once called Captain Marvel Jr., has confirmed the film will not only keep the franchise's comedic tone, but will have more fight scenes with the Marvel family. Brody told Screen Rant, Fury of the Gods will see him and the rest of the Marvel family actors get some impressive action scenes. Though he was scarce on the details outside of revealing his scenes featured stunts and wire work, aspects that he thought were thrilling, I'm sure there'll be moments of real peril that you take seriously as well. We're leaning into the comedy and leaning into the goofiness, and the wish fulfillment of all is pretty natural and joyful experience. So, yeah, and people are still surprised that they went that route, where you would expect them to become the Marvel family in the sequel, but they were like, nope, let's give it away right in the first movie. Which I thought some people were saying was bold or something, but I'm not sure. But it was pretty good. It was pretty good, I think. So, remember Tenet? That big Christopher Nolan movie that we were all excited for? And, uh, man. Remember when it got delayed due to the virus and they were like, fuck it, let's release it and endanger people? Yeah, they have admitted, yeah, we should have thought that through. Where the head of Warner Media's parent company, AT&T, has admitted the box office performance was far from ideal. I can't tell you tell you that we walked away with the 10 experience saying it was a home run. The AT&T CEO John Stankey, I'm not gonna go in. I'll just call him John. Said during an investor call. I'm happy we did it, John continued. I think the team was incredibly creative. I think we learned a few things about what we can do. I think if theaters open nationwide again, if California and New York would be open, we'd have some latitude. So maybe as we get to the place where there's a little more consistent footprint, we can do some more. In regards to future theatrical exhibitions, John noted that the holiday season will be the next big checkpoint to see if we can move some content back into theatrical distribution. Warner is still committing on putting some content that we think is the most important into the theatrical channel. We're expecting this to be incredibly choppy moving into next year. We are not optimistic, not expecting a huge recovery in the fan theatrical moving into the early part of next year. Yeah, it's to be more like maybe at best we should just give up and just go to HBO Max. Especially since it looks like the virus will be around for another year from what vaccinations projects are going about. Disney Plus, Netflix, YouTube, and more apps such as, Apple TV, Amazon Prime Video, Hulu, and more. Additionally, players will have access to Spotify, YouTube, and Twitch. It will all be available at launch on the PlayStation 5. Now, that kind of goes without saying, in all honesty. I kind of saw that coming from a mile away. So, remember that report I mentioned how Lee Cool broke the news that the distribution arrangement between DC Comics and UCS's comic distributors was no more, and was reportedly that DC Comics dropped UCS comic distributors for Lunar? Well, that was confirmed wrong by Bleeding Cool. Yeah, we got it wrong. 100% wrong. We were totally wrong. DC Comics did not drop UCS. UCS dropped DC Comics. Basically, it seems that Midtown Comics owners had enough of dealing with DC Comics as the distributor level at least, and quit rather than renew the contract. And now Lunar will have the whole DC Comics distribution monopoly to themselves unless someone else of a similar size decides to volunteer their services. They found it very hard to get anyone to go to on record with any of this. Lots of retail developers want to keep all their options open and everyone's sweet, as well as certain NDAs in operation. But there's someone who really doesn't care who he annoys, and no, this time they said it's not Dennis, Lawrence, whatever. No, not Brian Hibbs either. Congratulating on recent medical news, Brian. And as the site talks about, it's legendary Texian comic book retailer Buddy Sanders. There's a Lone Star Comics and the My Comic Shop website. The only person who could probably fill military comic shoes for DC Comics right now, who wrote the following. A DC Comics distributor follows in the towel. UCS. As the distribution arm of Midtown Comics has thrown in the towel. DC Comics that they just can't take it anymore. That means all DC distribution falls to Lunar distribution. We and other comic retailers are petitioning DC to resume distribution through Diamond Comics Distribution. Winner has actually done an excellent job thus far, but our industry will be better served with two distributors for retailers to choose from. Competition breeds better service. Our DC Comics arrived pretty late this week. We just got them today. Hey, but the failure was on Luna's part, but rather FedEx, which is an error rerouted our pallets to some place in Arkansas. It's by putting them on the wrong truck. Wow, that's kind of amazing. So, Marvel's Universe versus the Aliens is beginning in January 2021 with variant covers. So, yeah, there's a whole bunch of variant covers featuring the xenomorphs, and the various Marvel heroes and villains: Venom, the King in Black, Venom creature, or Black Cat. Let's see, the Iron Fist, Wolverine, which is looking awesome, and it's the artwork's by RB Sylvia, so I'll have to get that. X-Men 17, Iron Man number 5, Immortal Hulk 43, Fantastic Four 28, Avengers 41, featuring Xenomorph vs. Black Panther, Captain America 27, Captain Marvel 25, Black Widow number 5, which is drawn by Terry Dodson, Amazing Spider-Man 56, Miles Morales Spider-Man 22, Thor number 11, Shang-Chi, X-Force, Marauders, Spider-Woman number 8. Yeah, looking pretty crazy for January, especially when I heard there's an omnibus going to be released rather soon, honestly, of Empire from the recent Marvel event. So, Clover Press is going to republish Steve Allison's DC Comics Simon Dark. So I don't know much about Simon Dark. Apparently, this is a story of the arcane science and occult magic, the defender of one of his city's forgotten neighborhoods. He is also scarred and lonely teenage boy who has been sewn together from body parts. Okay, so they're collecting a single volume, which is going to be published by DC Comics as Simon Dark's 1 to 18, and it's going to be published by Clover Press. Okay. Never seen this series before, so we'll see. So, Marvel Publishing complete Jack Kirby War and Romance? Almost. So apparently there's something going on with Marvel solicitations where they show the complete Kirby War and Romance and hardcover written by Stan Lee, penciled by Jack Kirby, cover art by Jack Kirby. He's awesome. It's $125 in the US and 592 pages. Though Amazon listing has a different naming cover, Love and War, and lists all 3 issues of the Yellow Peril series. Yellow Claw receives exercise from the Marvel solicitation. So it seems something went wrong with the sites or just bad communication. So remember that artist for Flash Forward, Titans, Teen Titans, Rebirth, Flash, Nightwing, Justice League? Remember that artist? He wrote Flash. He created the art for Flash Forward. So yeah, Brett Booth is going to Marvel. He's going back to Marvel. He's been wanting to work for Marvel again. With a little X-Men under his belt, Marvel editorial thought his art style was too old-fashioned, too 90s, and associated with a time that Marvel was thematically tacking away. But then, of course, Donny Cates has been doing his best to revive the 90s at Marvel, and X-Men showrunner gets what and who he wants for the Dawn of X comics. Jonathan Hickman, because it's Jonathan Hickman. And now for 2021, Brett Booth will be returning to Marvel, taking over and drawing the central ongoing X-Men book, one of the best-selling comics in the direct market, it seems, and most likely Marvel's best-selling title, because it's Hickman, and everything he touches is great. But yeah, X-Men issue 17 will feature the return of Brett Booth at Marvel. And this issue, in the solicitations, it says, when the Shia Empire asks the X-Men for help, Cyclops, Storm, and Marvel Girl, Jean Grey answers the call. So, yeah, that's pretty awesome. Brett Booth's going back to work on Marvel, and Hickman probably made a call and said, hey, look, my current artist is leaving the comics. He's going to work on interior, or he's going to work on cover art, but I want this guy who's worked on Flash Forward and certain Titan books. It's Brett Booth. Can we get him? Okay, Hickman, you're Hickman, and you've been giving us money hands over fists every book. So we'll do it. Make the call, make the call, make the call. So, yep, Brett Booth is back to working with Marvel and X-Men's universe. Cool. So yeah, that's about it for this day. And tomorrow will be the last news of the week. So look forward to that, everyone. Neo Reality Collective 31st edition has been completed. This was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, donate, stay tuned for more, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.